It's the Rule of Nerds.
And this is our review of Solo, a Star Wars story.
Here we go.
All right, so before we begin, we would like to say that this is a full spoiler alert.
Yes.
We will not mince on the stuff that we're about to say. So if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to see the movie first, then come back and watch this. Actually, click subscribe and then watch
And
this.
then watch this.
So that we will not have to hold back certain things that we will spoil about the movie.
Okay.
All right, so FYI, this actually is one of the rare event movies where there is no embargo.
Yes.
We can actually talk about it as early as we want, which
Yep.
is usually a very good sign.
Yes.
Because usually studios would, not have premieres, would not have media screenings for fear of bad reviews.
Yes,
But in
yes.
this case, looks like, Disney says, let them talk about it.
They're behind this movie 100%. Very confident in it.
Yeah, so what about us as far as the Rule of Nerds? What did we think of the movie?
Okay, first thing I have to say about this was more entertaining than it had any right to be.
Yes.
You remember when this was first announced, the first reaction of people was, no one was asking for this movie.
Yeah.
The story that we were told about Han Solo was complete with
Yes.
the original trilogy, and you can add to it when it came the sequel trilogy. But the Han Solo that we were introduced to was that was all we needed to know from his past.
Yes.
But so here in this movie, obviously they try to explain a lot of those things, a lot of the references that they make in the original trilogy. You actually get to see some of these things in this movie, and for my money, it was more entertaining than I thought it would be.
And we might as well call it like obviously we all realize that it is an origin story.
Yes.
So it might as well have been named Han Solo: The Origin. Like
Yeah.
Mary Wolverine's origin. But it tells you everything. It tells you how Han met Chewie. It tells you how he got possession of the Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
It tells you all these things. It's actually very referential.
Yes, yes.
Hot off of Deadpool 2, you have this movie which understandably is visibly very different from Rogue One, where it was a completely new story.
Yes.
It would have like little pinches here and there, little cameos here and there, but it was a completely new story. Here, on the other hand, we are jumping off of a gigantic franchise.
Yes.
One of the most beloved characters, and it's so perfectly placed because right after Han Solo dies,
Yeah.
and there's no more thing after
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
after he died in the latest trilogy. Now we see where he came from,
Yeah.
and this is young Han Solo all over again. It's like young Indy, only Han Solo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it tells you everything, and it references a lot about the movies, the previous movies. For example, okay, let's get into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, this is the movie where it explains how he met Chewbacca,
Yes.
where apparently they met in like a dungeon where Chewbacca was the Beast,
Yes.
and
yes.
then
in an Imperial camp too.
In an Imperial
with Han
camp.
as an Imperial.
and
yeah.
there's a lot of firsts in the movie. For example, this is the first time that we hear Han actually speak Wookiee.
Yes. Yes.
And not
for all we knew, he understood.
He understood
he
it.
understood Wookiee, but we never actually in the original trilogy. I think we never hear him actually do the growls and that Chewbacca is known to speak in.
And he did.
Yeah.
And it only happened once. And then after that, Chewie would speak Wookiee and Han would speak English, and they would understand each other.
Yeah.
Another thing of note is this is the first time that a character did not say, I have a bad feeling about this.
yeah.
Usually, it's not just Han.
Yeah.
Other characters have said it. Do you remember some of the
I
more notable
I remember
non-Han?
Leia said it.
Leia has said it.
Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, I
Yes,
think,
yes.
said it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Anakin said it in one of the prequel. Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker.
But
said
every
it.
movie always had, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
In this movie, it's like, I've got a good feeling
Yes,
about
yes.
this. So another is that this is the first Star Wars themed movie that did not have the droids.
Yeah.
C3PO.
Unless we
and
missed them,
Unless we
but-
missed them. Tell us if we did.
Yeah.
But as far as we remember, there was no very visual
Yeah.
cameo from the two. And
Yes.
from the beginning until Rogue One or The Last Jedi, we have always seen C3PO
Mhm.
and R2D2
Yeah.
in every single Star
Yeah,
Wars
yeah.
movie, except this one.
Yeah.
And what else?
So
were the
yeah,
other-
the other wink moments there. If you notice the weird way that Billy D. Williams said the name Han
Yeah.
in Empire Strikes Back, they actually explain that a little bit
Yes.
here. Where so there's a scene where Han Solo sits down in a sabak table
Yeah.
where he first meets Lando, and he asks, so this game is sabak.
Yeah.
And he's corrected. Lando says, "No, it's sabak."
Yeah.
So and then they flip it around by him introducing himself as Han,
Yeah.
and Lando calling him Han.
Han.
Han. So they do a lot of that in this movie.
I mean-
they do a lot of retroactive
Yeah.
explaining.
Actually, issues that were non movie based. I
Yes.
mean, like it didn't actually occur in the movie, but
Mhm.
more like discussions of fans
Yes, yes.
outside of the movie.
Yeah.
So it made it very, very meta in a way.
Yeah.
Because the whole Han thing
Yeah.
was never really addressed within the movies.
Yes, yes.
It was more like a discussion among fans. And
Yeah.
yet they kind of like had a little nod to
Yeah.
it. And same thing with the whole Han shot first.
Yeah. On the same line,
Yeah.
if you're the kind of person who wonders if Han is the kind of person who shoots first,
Yeah.
well, they kind of answer that in this movie.
They did.
There's a scene where he shoots first, and
And it goes back to the whole Greedo reshoot where
Mhm.
initially it was Han and then they changed it into Greedo.
yeah,
And, there was this whole discussion about Han shot first.
yeah.
Again, this was never really addressed within the universe,
Mhm.
but more like outside. It's in our universe.
Yeah.
And yet it is addressed again in the movie. So it's very meta. That
Yeah, so
way.
it's that kind of movie.
It's that kind of movie.
It's a little bit similar to Deadpool too.
Yes,
It
it breaks a little bit of the fourth wall in a weird way.
It kind of knows what you're thinking.
what the fans are
yeah,
thinking.
so they kind of make it seem like they're in on the jokes as well.
Okay.
It's not common from a Star Wars movie
Yes.
to be that referential. I guess the question is, did that work for you?
For me, of course, because we're not building a new universe here.
Uh-huh.
We are talking about a beloved character, and I guess one of the main points of the movie is to explain Han Solo,
Yeah.
like how he became what he is or
Mhm.
what he was.
Yeah.
By the end of his life,
Mhm.
and it explain. That's the goal, to explain. Like
Mhm.
this is not the Han that we know, but this is the Han in progress.
Yeah.
He's a work in progress.
Mhm.
And it explains why he became how he was. And it also shows you that he wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
There was a change until life happened
Mhm.
and turned him the way he was.
Okay.
And so, since it is an old character, a beloved character, but this is going to be an origin.
Mhm.
There will be old characters and there will be new characters. Let's talk about the new characters first.
Okay.
So, did they work for you?
The most standout characters, obviously, Daenerys Targaryen.
Yes.
No, it's Kira
Uh-huh.
is the main love interest of Han in this movie.
Apparently he had a first love,
yeah.
and it was Daenerys.
The others that stand out, Beckett.
Beckett.
As the mentor, played by Woody Harrelson.
Yes.
And Vision,
Yes.
Paul Bettany actually plays a role here. So
He's the main villain here.
You've just seen him in Infinity War, so it's
Yeah.
kind of strange to see him here. But he plays Dryden Voss, this crime lord.
Yeah. He's
Okay.
like the kingpin.
Yeah,
And the organization is called Crimson Dawn.
yeah.
So basically those are the new characters. Did they work for you?
I thought they were interesting enough. It's nice that a lot of them belong to like this seedy underbelly
Yes.
of the Star Wars universe. Again, if you think Star Wars, the first thoughts you're going to have are Jedi.
Yes.
A lot of like these honorable characters,
Mhm.
and you see this side a little bit when it's the bounty hunters, but putting the focus on them. They're interesting enough, and they show a different side to the Star Wars universe that I really appreciated.
I one thing though, for me, my favorite new character
Mhm.
is actually not a human being,
Okay.
but more like a droid.
Yeah.
My favorite is uh,
L3. Yeah.
L337.
Yeah.
L337, the new droid, and it's crazy because in the past three Star Wars movies, we've had like two like super memorable droids.
Mhm.
You know, K2SO
Mhm.
and L337. Just L3.
Yeah.
She's more called L3,
Yeah.
and she's an incredible character. An incredible
Yeah.
character for me. The best new character in Solo.
She has some pretty funny moments, especially
Amazing.
near the
Yes.
breakout. You'll know what we're talking about when you see the movie. But there's a big breakout scene where she becomes all she tries to liberate her brethren, her droid brethren.
It's actually very current.
Yeah.
You know, the issues that she stands for. You're going to laugh about it. You're going to
Yeah.
giggle about it. But then there's a very dark undertone to it, which is we're all laughing about it,
Yeah.
but these are issues that are very relevant right now.
Yeah.
And but other than that, she's a lovable
Yes.
character.
Yes.
And it's amazing. She's very much like K2SO, and
Mhm.
it's like I kudos to the filmmakers for making non-human or humanoid
Yeah.
characters so interesting, so lovable,
Yeah.
and so memorable.
I think that's something that they've been
Very good at.
really focusing on,
Yeah.
especially recently. How to put unique personalities into each
Yes.
of the new droids they
Yes.
introduced. You see
And
it
they-
in
and it's-
BB-8.
yeah.
If you've seen
Yeah.
Star Wars Rebels, you see it very much in
And
Chopper.
Without any
Yeah.
words, you know the difference between
Yeah.
BB-8 and R2D2, for example.
In the way they act,
Yes.
and even in the way they beep and
Yeah.
they communicate. Like you can really some of these characters like L3 and K2SO, they're able to talk.
Yes.
So they're more like C3PO in that
Mhm.
way. So it's easier to show personality.
You know how, like,
but even just the beeping characters.
like that R2D2 is the more like he panics more.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, BB-8 is more like all put together.
Yeah.
I just love the droids
Yeah.
in Star Wars. Now, let's talk about the main old character.
Yeah.
Outside of Han Solo,
Outside of Han.
outside of Chewbacca
Yeah.
and their little, bromance
Yes,
there.
yes.
Of course, the big character here is Lando Calrissian.
Yes, Lando Calrissian. Obviously, they had a huge challenge here.
Yeah.
If you remember, Lando, he's this character with a lot of charisma.
Yes.
And so if you cast for this, there are big shoes to live up to.
Definitely.
And the guy they tapped to do this, Childish Gambino,
Yes.
Donald Glover. How did he do, in your opinion?
Amazing. I mean, he is right there. This couldn't have been better time.
Mhm.
Whoever cast him as Lando Calrissian must have like this crystal ball,
Yep.
And the timing could not be perfect.
Yes.
I mean, with Donald and Childish Gambino in the forefront of pop culture right
yes.
now,
Yes.
the release of this movie is like goosebumpy.
Yeah.
How could you have known
Yeah.
that this is the perfect time to release this movie?
Yeah.
So it's amazing. He's one of the most revered, loved artists we have right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And for him to play this beloved character, I think most people will be very deferential to the choice of Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, every time he's on screen, he shows you why he was cast in this role.
Yeah.
He knows how to steal the scene every time he's
Mhm.
there. It's just a great performance from him. I agree, very timely. Although, again, if you ask me, if you go back to our old videos, I've been a huge fan of Childish from a long, long time ago when we were first talking about him being cast in this role.
Yeah.
I was already saying this is perfect, that everybody's going to love him. And perfect timing, crystal ball for sure, to know that by the time the movie releases, he's going to be as big as he is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, since we've talked about all the characters, it boils down to one final character. It has been so controversial. How did Alden Aaron Reich do as Han Solo for you?
For me, I think that he did well enough,
Yeah.
that it doesn't really distract you. You know, that's the tricky part about playing such a character as beloved as Han Solo.
As iconic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially if you again, if you've been keeping up with the struggles in the production, you know,
Supposedly they had to
yeah.
get like
an acting coach, which was really worrying
because they weren't happy with how he
Yeah.
was performing.
Yeah, if you take all that into consideration, then he probably performed better than what you expected from him.
Mhm.
He was Han Solo enough that you weren't like thinking of Harrison Ford the entire movie.
Right.
But also I wouldn't say that that he played it perfectly to a T the way Donald Glover played Lando.
Yes. In my opinion, remember, this is not the Han Solo that we know.
Yes.
This is Han Solo before he became
Yes.
the Han Solo we know.
Mhm.
So for me, it was very good instinct on the part of Ron Howard, the director, and as part of and on the part of Alden as Han Solo, to not do a Han Solo.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
they did was like a rougher, earlier version of Han Solo.
With flashes.
He did his
Yeah.
own thing.
Mhm.
He didn't give like the kind of swag
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
older Han Solo
Yes.
had, because supposedly he didn't have it yet.
Yes, yes.
He was still insecure.
Yeah.
He wasn't the swagger wasn't
Yeah,
there
yeah.
yet. The attitude wasn't there
He's
yet.
more of the
He was
the
still positive.
wide-eyed, yeah.
He was still an
That-
optimist at the time.
Think Luke in episode 4, that
I-
wide-eyed farm boy kind of shucks.
And I think that's why
performance.
they put that line in, that
Yeah.
iconic, I have a bad feeling about this. This is the first time that he says, I have a good feeling about
Yes,
this.
yeah.
The Han that we know would never say that.
Mhm.
So what they're trying to show here is a younger version of Han Solo,
Yeah.
the diamond in the rough
Yep.
version of Han Solo. So for me, he definitely acquitted himself,
Mhm.
and he gave us just enough to give you an idea that yes, this is Han Solo, but this is not yet the Han Solo that we know and love.
Oh.
But definitely. Nothing to be afraid of,
Yeah.
that he would spoil the character
Yeah.
that you love, because he did, in my opinion, he did very good.
Yeah.
And there was this, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but there was this one scene, and I was talking to a friend about it, and apparently we both caught it, and I guess a lot of people caught it towards the end. He had this smirk.
Mm, yeah.
He had this
Yeah.
little, very quick expression. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but I swear, you would go, "Oh my God, that's Harrison
Yeah.
Ford."
I-
You won't even say it's Han Solo.
Yeah.
You'll say, "That's it. That's
Yeah.
Harrison Ford." He
I-
gave this quick smirk, smile before he turned
Yeah.
around, and you were like, "You nailed it.
Yeah,
You nailed
I
it."
read it as something that was definitely on purpose.
Yeah.
That was definitely a reference to the Han Solo he was growing
Exactly.
into.
But for me,
Yeah.
for him to be able to do that and
Mhm.
not like do it in your face,
Yeah.
to do it like in a very throwaway manner,
yeah, yeah.
that was masterful. I
Yeah,
was like,
without,
wow.
without putting too much focus on it.
Without doing
Yeah.
like, okay, look at me, I'm about to do a
Yeah,
Han
yeah,
Solo
yeah.
now. And I like how with Harrison Ford and Alden Ehrenreich, they have a certain face when they're
Mhm.
not smiling,
Mhm.
and the moment they smile, it's
Yeah.
like their faces change.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for me, that's one similarity that they've got going. So yeah, okay, so I love that. Now, do you think it's a standalone? Because remember, with Rogue One, we know that that's it.
Yeah.
You just have one. That's why it's called a Star Wars story.
Mhm.
It's not a new franchise.
Mhm.
Here, we're kind of like in the middle.
Mhm.
We think it's good enough. If they don't do anything after this, we're good.
Mhm. Mhm.
But they left just enough of the door open,
Yeah.
in case they do decide to have a sequel.
So I guess we have to start this section with another huge spoiler
It's a huge
warning.
spoiler.
Okay, so if you braved through this even without watching the movie, this is probably a good time to hang back for a little bit.
This is the biggest.
Because it's a
Spoiler
big
for the
surprise.
movie,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
a big spoiler surprise for the movie. So near the end, Han and Chewie go off, and they're actually they set up a scene where they were going to be pursued by a pair of bad guys.
Yeah. Okay. So here's
Okay.
the background that we gave you
Yeah.
was that we had Beckett, right? Woody Harrelson.
Mhm.
His boss was Dryden Voss, who's the leader of Crimson
Yes.
Dawn.
Crimson Dawn.
Now, Dryden Voss's boss, is
Boss's boss.
there's a bigger boss.
Yeah.
And the surprise is the bigger boss is
Darth freaking Maul. It's Darth Maul.
Yeah. So of course, if you watch the animated,
Yeah.
Rebels, you would know that.
He's still alive. He
he's still
survived.
alive.
Yeah. If you only watched the main Star Wars movies, you probably think that
he's
dead after Episode 1.
Yeah.
But if you're a fan of like the extended canon, he's made several appearances since then. He does become a crime boss in Dathomir, in Star Wars Rebels, which is closer to the original trilogy timeline wise. He's actually an older character there, and he tries to influence one of the main characters, Ezra. He does meet Obi-Wan Kenobi in Tatooine in the Star Wars Rebels TV show.
But regardless of whether you've seen the animated version or not, you will gasp when it happens. Now, the other main character, Kira.
So this is a big spoiler.
This is a big spoiler. I mean, this is a spoiler alert. She survives and she goes to Darth Maul.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happens next.
Yeah.
So like we said.
And not just survives. The main thing is here, she makes a turn.
Yes.
You think that the interesting thing about the movie is because these guys are all scoundrels.
Mm-hmm.
Like you never know who's on your side.
There's a lot of double crossing.
Yeah. So it actually affects the viewing experience if you know this. So we've been very careful with making sure that you know this is a spoiler. But at the end of the movie, she turns.
Yeah.
She's not on Han's side. And it actually appears as if she and Darth Maul
will be working together.
And we're set on going after Han.
Yeah.
So the question there is, when I first saw it, I expected there was more movie left to see what actually happens, but apparently it ends there. So were they intentionally leaving the door open for a potential Solo 2? Or is it just a spin-off featuring just Darth Maul and Kira?
So I think they're just leaving it open enough so that should there be a clamor, then, they've got space. But if not, even if we never find out what happened to Kira and Darth Maul, it's just something that happened in that corner of the universe. So I think, Disney will be looking at how this movie will be received and how profitable is it, and
box office.
Are people really clamoring to see what happened after this specific story?
I'm sure if this makes like Force Awakens numbers, there's no way they're not gonna try to continue this. So maybe a little smart of them to leave it open. But again, it's not like completely open to the point where you need a next movie.
It's not Infinity War open.
If all you see from Han and Chewie is the ending of this, and then the next time you see them is Episode 4, New Hope,
you're good.
It already makes sense. There's a direct line to it already. You're already all good for it.
Okay, so that begs the question now: did we really need this movie? Did we need a Han Solo origin story?
I think that's the big question because in my opinion, I enjoyed the movie. I liked watching it. I liked the time we spent. I laughed. I pointed out reference. Very the Captain America meme.
Yeah,
I understood that reference. So it's fun in all of that. And like I said earlier, like it beats your expectations. If you were following along to all of the problems they had in production, the director change, all of that. You would say that this is a great movie if you know all of that. But then again, it's a really low bar to clear. It doesn't take a lot to get to that point because the expectations are low. For me, I enjoyed it, but I still don't think we actually needed this movie.
Yeah.
While some of the scenes there were interesting, like when Han met Chewie and the Kessel Run, and what eventually happens to these characters. These were all things that I think stood on their own when you watched the original trilogy. Like you knew that Han won the Millennium Falcon in the game of Sabak. I don't know if we really needed to see how he actually did it. Like a lot of these things didn't need explaining. And while it was fun to watch it unfold, I don't think any of it was really necessary.
Well, in my opinion, was it essential? Essential, no. But for me, it served the same purpose as Rogue One. If we never knew that Rogue One existed, we would still be happy with the Star Wars universe, and the experience of the entire Skywalker saga would still be just as satisfying. But for me, yeah, maybe it's not essential that we get the inside story of the origin of Han Solo, but I am super happy that they did because it was just amazing. So I loved how they did the Solo origin story, and even if it's not, it just goes to prove again that outside of the main series, there are a lot of stories that can be told. Maybe not essential to the main story arc, but very entertaining sub stories. Not sob stories, but sub stories. All right, so there you go. We hope you enjoyed that little review. Tell us what you think. Did we miss any of the Easter eggs or any references that we might have skipped? Please tell us in the comment section.
And again, please try to answer our big question. Also, did you think this was a necessary movie? Obviously, so some of us will have different opinions from
others. This will be very polarizing.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to hear what everybody thinks.
All right, so please click subscribe to The Rule of Nerds, our YouTube channel. We would appreciate it. Share this video if you want. We would appreciate it as well. And check out our social media accounts. It's The Rule of Nerds, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And for my personal account, you can check me out at Chico Garcia on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can follow me, M_Bolante on Twitter. It's JM_Bolante on Instagram.
Nerds out!